Hi everyone, welcome back to Diamond Words Podcast. My name is P.A. Clark. In this episode, we're talking about Black Hollywood. On top of the surface, we have the skin. And aging with the skin relates to wrinkling of the skin, sagging of the skin, thinning of the skin. And deeper is the fat pads, the muscle, the bones. What are those deeper tissues doing? So both of these, above the skin and below the skin, is very relevant to how we age. And looking at Black Hollywood and aging, because of the abundance of melanin, the skin thinning is reduced, so the skin stays luscious for a very long time. The softening of the fat tissue below the skin stays a little bit more robust because of this. The bony changes and the deep fatty tissues sometimes does the same thing as the counterpart, White Hollywood. Of these, the real difference now is going to be what is below the skin in Black Hollywood. Why? Because the surface of the skin is protected by melanin. But what about underneath? Which changes occur due to habits. So my three S's are the sun, stress, and sleeping habits. If you're in the sun too much, you will age faster. If you have an abundance of stress in your life, you will age faster. And if you're sleeping on your face, you will age faster. Those are my three S's. Therefore, those are my three S's. Now with that, let's take a look at some of our Black Hollywood actresses. And the first one we're taking a look at is Viola Davis. Viola Davis has such rich melanin in her skin. It keeps the surface of her skin flawless. Her skin looks great. However, when we look below the surface, we can see some changes under the eyes. Along the nasolabial fold is changing, left side more than right. Her chin is fine. Zygomatic jaw angle is fine. Temples are fine. Brows are fine. But there's slight small hooding underneath the eyebrow. So even though she's protected well and the surface shows that protection, the underside of the skin doesn't have as much of that youthfulness that I would love to see. And therefore, that's where fillers come in. Fillers can make a dramatic change in the aging process of Viola Davis. Now, an amazing change, not changing her face, but bringing back some of the youthfulness to Viola. Beautiful lips, I would not change a thing. Moving forward is the side of her face. If we look at Viola Davis' side, now we can appreciate some more of that aging process that I mentioned earlier. Again, her lips are fine. The side of the cheeks, just below the corner of the lip, is showing a little bit of that deep fatty tissue movement, especially on expression. If Viola Davis was in my office, I would definitely do her lips. However, I wouldn't make her lips larger. I would just remove some of the lines in the lips, period. A little touch of filler here and there, and she's finished. She doesn't need a lot of anything. Our next celebrity is going to be Rihanna. Rihanna is still very young. She has that mid-melanin tone. She doesn't really have much of anything to do because she's absolutely stunning. But if Rihanna walked into my office and said, geez, I don't know, I think I need to have something, then I would definitely touch her upper cheek region. Not her mid cheek, not her lower cheek. The upper cheek. Why? If we take a look at the side profile on Rihanna putting on her skincare, you're going to find that there's a slight drop in the height of the apex of the cheek. Just a slight drop. But that drop is enough to take away 5 years. So sometimes you don't need a full face Botox filler rejuvenation. Sometimes it's just small, tiny changes you can make without making it seem as though the individual had anything done. So with Rihanna's side view profile, I would say her upper cheek apex, not the mid, not the lower, the upper. The lips are great, the nose is great, eyebrows, everything is great, Oriana, but it's that step off in that apex of the cheek. If she were in my office. Let's look at celebrity number 3, Kerry Washington. Beautiful smile. Take a look at the sides of the eyes. This is what we call crow's feet. Now, again, if Kerry Washington walked into my office, I am not removing all of her crow's feet. I'm just going to soften them to some degree. But more than anything else, take a look at the second shot, is the under eyes. The under eyes on Kerry Washington is slightly dropping slightly. And for that, I will use Restylane dermal filler to give a small amount of elevation without changing her face. See, we don't want to change the face. We don't want, if someone ever says, did you have your eyes done? It was a bad job. If someone says, did you have your chin, your cheek, your forehead done? It was a bad job. Good work in aesthetic medicine means that no one knows what was done. It just looks great. So for Kerry Washington, it'll be under her eyes. I will put a drop of Restylane lift on the nasolabial folds. And those nasolabial folds, I guarantee you, between the under eye and the nasolabial folds, I would take about 10 to 15 years off of her face. Doesn't mean that's what she's looking for. It just means if she walked into my office and asked me to do something, it would be under the eyes, the nasolabial folds. She doesn't need to have them done because she's absolutely gorgeous. But those are the 2 areas I would touch. Maybe just 1 syringe for both. Nothing whatsoever. Let's look at Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett is a little older, but look how wonderful her smile is. Angela Bassett has that lower face movement, that animation that creates some of the rippling along the sides. Now again, it's neither good nor bad. It's just there. However, the purpose that I would do if Angela Bassett walked into my office, I will use an expression soft technology filler to soften the lines. Now, if you've ever listened to my other episodes, I go into the science of fillers and why different fillers do different things. So for Angela Bassett, I will work on the expression technology, which is the Restylane contours and the Restylane defines and the Restylane refines to soften that dynamic movement on the side of her face, just to prevent it from becoming deeper and aging more. Her eyes are wonderful. It's likely that maybe she does a little bit of Botox or Dysport to the crow's feet. Doesn't matter. She has a beautiful face. So with Angela Bassett, I really wouldn't change too much on her. Now let's look at the second photo of Angela Bassett. If this Angela Bassett walked into my office, I definitely will work again on the lower region. In this image, it shows me that her cheeks may be a little too full. Doesn't mean that she did something, but if she did something, then the cheeks was probably done with a product that creates too much expansion. And if you create too much expansion, it starts to distort the midsection of the face. And when you smile, going back to the first shot, she has beautiful cheeks on the first shot. On the second shot, which is the side angle, without smiling, her cheeks are very full. So I think the type of filler that was used, if she had anything done, then the type of filler used here in her cheeks was not the right filler for her cheeks, and it created too much of a higher, wider volume cheek, which took away from some of that beautiful essence in her face. Black Hollywood needs to be careful who they go to have fillers or Botox. You need to understand that you must go to someone who understands your skin as Black Hollywood. Someone who understands what your skin does. Okay, we're moving on. Now we have Giselle Beauvais. Amazing face. So you can't get better than this in many respects. She is just absolutely gorgeous. I have had the pleasure of meeting so many beautiful Haitian women. I think it's It's a thing to appreciate that beauty. Now let's dive a little deeper into her face. On this first image, I'm unsure of what year this was taken, but if you look at how she smiles, you can see the same thing as in Angela Bassett, slight rippling on the lower portion of the chin in this region. Those are dynamic forces that are causing that. It doesn't mean they have to be treated. It just means that they have to be addressed somehow. So with this, again, with my black patients, I do not do too much. I do the most minimal that's necessary to keep them as beautiful as they already are. Let's take the side profile of her face. It looks slightly different here, but there's zero makeup in this second image. Now, if this second image came into my office and said, geez, can I have something done? I want to have something done. I would definitely target the tear trough region, which is this region here. Again, same as some of the other celebrities on the show, we have a slight drop in that under eye. If we go back to the first image, there's a lot of makeup that hides it, and the second image you can see that there's a slight drop. Now this requires a little bit of filler to kind of smoothen out the upper area. One of the Juvederm products will make a wonderful treatment if it's done in the right quantity, but also one of the Restylane products will make a gorgeous treatment if it's done in the right quantity. So Garcelle Beauvais, one of the Hollywood most beautiful black women there is. So let's move on. How many more do we have? I believe this might be the last Hollywood black actress that we're portraying. And now we have here Gladys Maria Knight. Now Gladys Maria Knight, I love her face. She's very expressive. So even before, and it looks as though she had some work done. Again, I do not know if she had work done, but if she did have some work done, it looks as though she had slight tightening and pulling off the face. This is okay. This is a surgical option. Now, I think you all know how I feel about the surgical options. Sometimes they're not necessary, but definitely in her case, it would have been necessary for the lower portion only without having anything in the upper areas done. On her, if Gladys Knight came into my office and said, I want to have something done, I would target again the nasolabial, I would target the under eyes on her, and I would give her back her zygomatic mandibular angle in this region. Why is that? Because in this region, that is what we lose over time, especially in men. But for women, losing that angle means that the lower face gets tapered and the jowls become more prominent. Giving this angle and that volume back would 100% make Gladys Knight's aftershot much more appealing. In the second view, you can really see the difference between the older version of Gladys Knight and the younger version of Gladys Knight. Both images looks great. The second image, which is that aftershot of her smiling, is great, but take a look at under the eyes again. And we keep coming back to under the eyes in individuals over 20-30 in the black community. Those under eyes drop. And as they drop, a slight amount of filler would always kind of just elevate the under eyes and create more volume in the upper cheek. Perfect. That was Gladys Knight. I will tell you, black Hollywood female actresses do not need a lot of Botox or filler. However, they still require some in the right place and the right quantity of fillers. If the right quantity isn't done or the wrong place is done, then the face changes way too much, which changes how we see and feel about the individual. So there's something with Hollywood and black actresses that when they undergo treatment or rejuvenation, it tends to change the face too much. You have to be careful who you're going to and that they understand your skin, your features, and how to take you back to your previous self using dermal fillers, Botox, biostimulators, and thread. Thank you all for watching. That was the end of this episode. Don't forget to subscribe for more episodes on Black Hollywood, White Hollywood, on Hollywood and actresses.